Hello and welcome to A Cup of Tea with Stephen. Today's guest, well, she tells it as she sees it. She's an award-winning journalist and she's gone down in the history books for her news reading. She lights up her room anywhere she goes, and she's my friend and I adore her, India Willoughby. Hello.
How are you doing, Stephen? It's so good to see you. But obviously, it's called Cup of Tea. You were taking so long to get rigged up. I've drank my tea, but I do have my mug.
Have you...
So I'll at least do the visual bit and grab a mug.
India, one of the things I noticed, your middle name, Scarlett. Is that after Scarlett O'Hara?
No, Captain.
Oh, Captain Scarlett.
Yeah, this conversation will mean nothing to anyone under the age of probably 45, I would guess. Captain Scarlett was a puppet.
Now, darling, you're a huge talent, and we loved you on Loose Women. And I mean, everybody wanted you back on there. In fact, you came back on several times, didn't you? When are we going to see you on permanently?
I don't think it's ever going to happen, Stephen. And without wanting to blow my own trumpet, I think I'm probably the best loose woman they've never had. Hardly a day goes past on my Twitter feed or social media where somebody says, you should have India Willoughby on, or what are you going to do? Honestly, it's never going to happen now. And that's fine. I think ITV have gone down a different route recently, and I don't think I'd be the sort of character that would fit in. So I'm a realist, and I'm very upfront about that. I think that ship has sailed probably at the same time as the Titanic.
So I know you're up north now, but you're an exile in London. What's the difference between living up north and living in London? And what tips Northerners they're going to move down to London?
I love London just for the fact that it's 24/7, and I am very much a city person. God, I can't think of a worse. I grew up in Cumbria, which again is beautiful. It's got the Lake District, and people would literally kill to live in the Lake District. But you know what? I'm a city girl, and it used to drive me nuts. I'm allergic to the countryside. I can't think of anything worse. Sorry, farmers. I can't think of anything worse than going to the country. Bad internet, no fancy clothes shops, all the things that I like. No cafe society. Oh God!
I have a friend that lives in central London. Their internet's absolutely dreadful. No, I love living in London. And with Carlisle, where you were a newsreader up there, was there ever a boring moment when you couldn't fill the news? Because what actually goes on in Carlisle?
Never. Again, without blowing my own trumpet, I used to love it. One of the great things, and there are so many fantastic broadcasters actually that have come out of not Carlisle but ITV Border.
Yeah.
Which was the local ITV station at the time. And I think Richard Madeley, who's up for the GMB job, did his training at ITV Border. That's where he started out. And one of the great things about ITV Border was that when you start, all the other ITV franchises, you join as a journalist, and then you're behind the scenes for like 2 or 3 years, learning the ropes. And what ITV Border, it's sink or swim. So you're out with a camera crew, you're in front of a camera straight away. Obviously, it's not a really newsy patch. There aren't a lot of murders or robberies and all that sort of thing. It's quite genteel. It's like Heartbeat or Call the Midwife type of tempo in terms of pace of life. So there are times when you literally have to fill and you have to be yourself. And the auto cue goes out the window. It doesn't matter, but you still have to talk. And that is actually great training.
Yes.
You know, to be interviewed. I think the moment I realized when I had to move on, and this is indicative of the sort of coverage that we were doing, I was reading the main flagship show of the night that I presented, which was called Look Around, locally known as Border Crack and Decaboot. That's what it was known as. So I was presenting that, and the top story on the day, I kid you not, was 40 bales of hay have been destroyed in a barn fire. Police are in, wasn't even animals, definitely wasn't people, it was 40 bales of hay. And that, for me, was the final straw in many ways, as I've often said since then. I realized that if I wanted to do something more interesting, I had to move on. But I don't, you know,
That's good grounding for
not,
you. We're
it
talking
was great training. I don't knock it one bit. For me, it was the best place possible. And like I say, there are so many really good journalists. I don't know if you know Fiona Armstrong. She's retired now, but she used to read the news at 10.
Yes,
but yeah, there are many journalists over the year that have come out of ITV border.
It's like an apprenticeship almost before moving into, which was just sadly lacking in a lot of places now. There's no apprenticeship. But you mentioned Richard Madeley taking over the Good Morning Britain job. Would you like to see that?
I think he'd be fantastic. I've always liked Richard Madeley. I think he's a great character.
Yeah, I mean,
do you not think? I think he is genuinely. He is really clever. He is super sharp. I know he's got this image as Alan Partridge, and I think he actually plays up to that.
Oh, it's cheap.
A little
You'll
bit.
be up in the morning because I've turned off, to be quite truthful.
I can't
because Pierce isn't there anymore. And I know you were really friendly with him, and he was a fan of yours. Do you think he was treated fairly?
No, I think it's terrible. I don't know, and honestly, I want to say this with love, because ITV have been really good to me. They've been my channel over the years. They trained me up. They've given me all the TV stuff. So I honestly say this with love, and I always wear my heart on the sleeve and say how I feel, regardless. I don't sit on the fence, and I've said this openly on Twitter. I think ITV have lost the plot, quite honestly. And I feel with Twitter, they've killed the golden goose in the mornings. And I'm really disappointed in the fact that they showed no loyalty, because before Piers arrived, breakfast, nobody watched breakfast TV on any channel. It was just, you may as well have been in a lift. It was stuff that was on in the background while you got ready to go to work or school, and nobody paid attention. And whether you love Piers or not, he revolutionized breakfast TV viewing here. He made it interesting. He was funny. He was controversial, which is all part of news, you know.
I didn't always agree.
That's what people want.
But I love listening to him. He just sat there, and also he talked so much sense during the pandemic. He was the voice of reason. You know,
absolutely. He held the government to account. And if you watched the other side, though God knows why you would want to do that, you know, the BBC option I'm talking about here, it's like an interview, I don't know, a human resources office where the politician comes on and they're allowed to say what they want, and the two presenters, they don't really feel comfortable asking the obvious questions. It was dreadful. Whereas Piers was right in there. He had his finger on the pulse of what people at home were thinking, and they've lost that now, and they've lost it for reasons of wokery, and they have, you know, round pegs in square holes. And it's not these individual, again, I don't want to come across as having a go at these individuals, because I'm sure they are all nice people. I blame ITV for putting them in that situation. We've had a few presenters in the morning since Piers went, who I feel awkward for them as a viewer.
I can't watch him now. I mean, Richard Madeley comes back on. Just he has fantastic hair. I have to go watch him.
Amazing hair. Richard looks so good. How old is he? Something like, somebody said he was 68. Is that right?
Yeah, but he's got brilliant hair, and it would cheer up in the morning. It's, the idea of getting up in the morning and feeling lifted and have something interesting to watch. So, but you've never been one to shy away from controversy yourself, have you? And you went into Celebrity Big Brother. Is that something you regret doing?
No, I regret how it went, in terms of, how it developed. But that was beyond my control. I didn't have any control over that. But I don't regret going on Celebrity Big Brother. I loved that show. for years, Stephen. And a few years before, if you had said to me, there's a chance you might go on there, I just snapped your hand off. And it was a dream come true. I actually think in the way that TV works, it was probably set up for me to win that year. But it all blew up in the first week because it was the year of the woman. That was the theme. You know, if anyone's watched Celebrity Big Brother, every year they have a theme. I remember one was Secret and Lies and various other things, but this year it was Year of the Woman. And so I was very topical, being the first trans newsreader at the time. And I certainly got the vibe, you know, from the people within the program. And when they were, we were building up to the thing, that I was, in a way, it was all geared up, you know, that I was going to win. But then I went in and obviously it blew up with all the misgendering and what have you. And yes, I could have bit my tongue. I could.
But that's not
have
you.
Just kept my head down. But you know what? I think it's dated so bad. I mean, that's 3 years ago. And when I was getting misgendered in there, I was the baddie for reacting. Whereas now, I don't think it would go down that way. I think the same people saying those things to me, it would be the opposite.
Yeah.
They would be the baddies. Yeah, and I would be the victim.
But everyone going into the house I've ever interviewed said it's not what they expected. They thought they were control, and somehow or other the psyche is completely different from what they imagined. Did you find that?
It's really tough. I still, to this day, you know, there are shows like Survivor in the States, where you're chucked on a desert island with nothing and you've got to get by. And obviously there's I'm a Celeb, where you eat, you know, testicles and what have you. But to this day, I say celebrity, any Big Brother, any form of Big Brother is the toughest reality show in the world, because it really is psychological, and there's no trickery. It's not like Love Island, where there are breaks and people say, can we do that again? Or Richard, can you say this? And, you know, Sophie, there's none of that. You're put in this room with people who you're not going to get on with, because that's why they're chosen. So it's conflict, there's tension all the time. You're not allowed a newspaper, there's not a clock on the wall. There's no stimulus whatsoever. You have to try and get on with these people who hate you and you hate them. And it's really, really difficult.
Did you start off, you know, you watch the program and everyone's like, I love you, hug, hug, hug. And then you slowly, it seems, how quickly did you go from lovely to meet you to I hate you?
Yeah, really quickly. Because because that's what I like. I don't like fake. I think it's probably a northern thing. because up north and in Scotland as well, I think people, they don't necessarily take it, they don't say things in a personal way, but they're a lot more honest and upfront. They're not as guarded or duplicitous, I don't think. Whereas certainly in that house, right from the off, within the first sort of 30 minutes, I could tell there were certain people in the house that they just weren't being natural. I could tell it was like, you know, they were wearing a mask.
They already had worked out a game plan they were going in.
Yeah,
rather
absolutely. And I would rather. I just like people who.
Courtney Act was in with you. Her skirt came off at the beginning. Did you think that was perhaps?
Well, again, come on. You know, it's obviously deliberate. You know, pre-planned and all that. Oh my God.
In fairness, if you go through the internet, you had some of the best publicity anyone could ask for, and also some of the worst. So
yeah,
I were interviewing Denise Welsh last week, has had pretty bad publicity, and how she's dealt with. How do you deal with the bad publicity?
Well, I don't think there's nothing you can do about it ultimately, Stephen, and it's a hard lesson to learn. And I'm not going to deny, you know, it definitely does get me down at times. And I'm thick-skinned. I've worked in the media. I know what it's all about. But if you're having a shitty time in life generally, or you've had a crappy day, and then you go online and then there's you know, loads of rubbish being talked about, or you're being called names or something like that, then definitely on certain days, it, without a doubt, gets to you. And my heart really goes out. We're talking about reality TV here. This is why I think people don't realize how dangerous reality TV
really
is. Yes, it's extremely glamorous. And if you win, which is the chosen few, if you win, there's potentially a career on ITVB or something like that for you, and money from endorsements and what have you that goes with it. But there is a very dark side as well, because if you come across as a negative character or a controversial character, it's like a pantomime. You're the baddie, and it stays with you and it follows you around. And for people like me, you know, it definitely affected me when I came out of Big Brother. How must it be for someone who's never been on TV before and has no experience of that? Who is 17 or 18 years old?
They should be trained. Do you still have people recognize you in the street? Do still people come up to you in the street?
Yes, again, it's so strange. When I came out of Big Brother, it was great because the ratings were really good when I was in there. It just shows you the public, they do like people with opinions, or who have a bit of personality. So when I came out in real life, you have a minder for a couple of days. Big Brother gives you a minder who looks after you. And wherever I was going, it was like, India! I remember when the first day I got out, the first full day, I took my mum to the Ivy in Covent Garden because I'd seen her. I thought I'm going to treat her. And it was one of the nicest days of my life because we walked through there and there were people leaning out of windows, or we were bumping into them in the street, and they were stopping asking for a selfie with me and saying my name. And it was such a pleasure, you know, for my mum, just to see that. It was really nice. And I was thinking, oh, this is great. You know, in real life, everyone likes me, and that's fine. But then when I got my phone back from Big Brother and looked at what was going on, oh my God, it was just the polar opposite. But again, that's another lesson that you learn the hard way, that, you know, social media and the likes of Twitter, I would say to anyone who's having a hard time
look at it.
On Twitter at the moment, it's completely different. It bears no relation to real life. There's only 10% apparently of the population actually use Twitter. And while I love it as a platform, it can get nasty.
What would be your ideal kind of guy?
Ideal sort of guy? He'd be very light. Funnily enough, my best friend in London is a guy called Jesse, who's from New Zealand.
I met Jesse, didn't I?
I think you met Jesse, yeah. So me and Jesse, we just, again, you know, it's love at first sight, but not that sort of love.
Okay, yeah.
On my when I started at Channel 5 reading the news for Channel 5, when you turn up at the office for the first day, they give you a mentor for a couple of days who looks after, you know, just shows you around where everything is and what have you. And they gave me Jesse. And straight away, it was like within 30 seconds, you know, we were laughing, we were getting on and what have you. And when the boss who dropped me off with Jesse came in, we were roaring with laughter. And they said, oh, I didn't realize you knew each other.
Oh,
that's how good that's how good we were getting on. So if I could find somebody who was straight and had Jesse's sense of humor, but actually a bit more stylish than Jesse, because Jesse's not into his fashion, and I like my clothes. As you can see, I'm in the spare bedroom here, just thing. So I'm just checking out all my clothes for the summer.
If you were mayor of London for the day, what would you change about London?
Oh, he drives me nuts. Well, if I was mayor, I'd do the polar opposite. And honestly, I wouldn't do this in a nasty way. I think that the reason people come to London, they come to Britain, obviously, but obviously they go to London because that's the capital of England and where all the landmarks are. I think they should play it up more. There should be more Union Jacks. There should be more, you know, all the great historic characters we've had over the years. Our history is so rich. You know, we gave the world English.
Yeah, I mean, it's
what a language. Shakespeare, you know, Churchill, all these people. I think we should play it up. I know Sadiq's got this bee in his bonnet about renaming streets and taking down statues and what have you. But I think it's going to be bad for business. People here don't really want it. I don't think the bulk of people, and I don't think tourists want to come from abroad and walk down a street that's named after some British civil rights activist that nobody's heard of.
What are you watching on the box now at the moment? What are you watching?
Well, I'm a TV addict, so I'm watching Line of Duty, obviously.
Oh yes.
Are you watching that?
Oh my God, yeah. I fell off my sofa on Sunday.
And I'll recommend another one. I don't know if you've got Netflix, but I loved, well, two things on Netflix that I really loved. I think is it Behind Her Eyes or Beneath Her Eyes?
God, it's brilliant.
Fantastic.
Oh my God.
No one would ever guess what happens towards the end.
That gave me the creeps.
Yeah, it was. Oh, they've got to make a second one, and also Good Girls. If you've ever seen Good Girls,
no, I've not seen that. I'll watch that.
Now,
that.
Good Girls is. I'm a big fan of Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
And Good Girls is very similar, and it's not far off quality-wise as well. But it's a gang of women who get involved in criminality. Ordinary, what you would, you know, just domestic housewives, really, who do one thing at the start that spirals out of control. But it's very good.
And what have you got planned for the rest of the year? What are you going to be up to?
Well, I've got one thing which might be happening in June, which I can't mention at the moment. And I wish I could, because they have taken so long in getting back to me. But apart from that one thing, I'll just be bobbing around doing the daytime shows, the radio, and what have you. There's no big projects as yet. It's a shame, you know, that I don't know. Diversity doesn't seem to apply to people like me, and it doesn't necessarily have to be me. It could be somebody else from my group or tribe.
All the noise is still taking a little time to get around to doing what people are talking about doing. But you know what? You never know. It moves on. And maybe next year it'll be completely different.
Maybe.
Definitely need to see a lot more of you on television, because you're always you're always honest, and I like honesty in people. And I will stop what I'm doing, listen to what you have to say, which is that's important.
Oh well, that's really kind of you. I mean, I sometimes I get accused of being a nasty person, but I hope you know I'm not a nasty
person. And say it as you see it. And I think that's
I just like I like having a debate and a bit of a barney and an argument, but I don't take it personal, and I'm providing, you know, it's not malicious stuff or something that's downright offensive. I'm passionate about having an argument or a debate, but again, that's why I won't get on ITV at the moment, because they've gone down.
Pretty, you can have a debate with somebody and not fall out.
And this is a really important thing, Steve. This is the essence of wokery as well, and why I don't like it. You know, obviously I want everyone to be treated with respect, whoever you are and wherever minority you come from, whether it's an LGBT thing or a race thing or a religious thing, whatever, you know, enjoy your life and live your life in peace. But when people and groups start laying down laws that you can't
absolutely
basically express yourself in any way, and I think a lot of Britain at the moment feels stifled, not because they want people to say horrible, nasty things. They're just really wary and walking around on eggshells and tripwires, and it's not healthy.
Walking on eggshells. Well, listen, it's been absolutely lovely having you for a cup of tea, and I'd love to do it again sometime with you.
Fantastic. Let's meet up when I get back down to London. Let's find somewhere with an outdoor table and get together.